y'all, welcome back to Homesteadin in the City. I'm Zach, and today we are doing a full garden tour of the new house. So I think it's been a little while since we checked in. Last time I left you, I think we were trying to buy the house beside April. That didn't work out, but we ended up getting a different house after about 7 different attempts right around the corner from hers. Without further ado, let's get around to checking out the new gardens. So actually, before even going outside, this is in our sunroom, which we've kind of turned into a little greenhouse. We've got some south-facing windows over here, and then I've just taken some wire racks and put some cheap fluorescent lights from Amazon on them to make a little seed starting area. And then this year I have invested in some soil blocks. I think I'll do another video about those later. And right here we got some Sea Island red peas, but we've already started a few things inside and put them outside. A few more little things are going on. We haven't got a ton of our gardening done because we've actually just been unpacking from a move. We just got into this house a few weeks ago, and it's been a little hectic, but let's get outside. Also in the greenhouse room, we've got this worm bin that I'm just starting out. I'll do a review of it later. I think I filled it up a little too quickly for the amount of worms I have in there, but I think it'll get going well, and then that'll be a good source of fertilizer for our little seedlings, and some good compost for the potted plants. So this is the green stalk. I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with it, but it's just a vertical planter that you water from the top, put soil in. There's 7 different layers here. Right now I've just got some basil and peppers in it that we started there in the greenhouse area. It's right outside our back door, so I wanted something where it's just easy to come out and grab a few things if we need it for the kitchen. Percy, you gonna keep the squirrels out of the garden? I had another little planter box thing. This is the earth box, kind of similar to the green stalk. You put soil in it and you can easily water your plants. This, you just put it in a tube there. I can leave links to both in the description, but this is just another easy way. These to grow a few things near the front door. We're kind of on the edge of the patio here. Thinking about getting a few more of these to kind of make a little bit of a wall, maybe raise them up some so Percy doesn't get into them. He likes to get into a lot of things around here. All right, in the back corner of the yard, we've got our compost system going, and right now that's just a couple of pallets. Just filling that up with organic material, of course. We'll have to keep turning this. We're gonna probably expand it a little bit more, at least for this year, but in the future, we've got something else planned for compost. Let's check that out now. So we've got a lot of small trees along this fence line. I kind of topped them off right when we moved in. New growth should sprout back out. Create a little bit of canopy, give some shade, give some privacy, and in our next composting system, give some predator protection, because this is where we want to put the chicken run in the future. It's probably not going to happen this year. We've got some other things that we're kind of getting put together, but once that comes, I think the chickens will be right here. They'll get to do a lot of natural grazing, as well as making some great compost for the garden. One of the favorite features back here is this fountain. Now, when we moved in, it was overgrown. The fountain was filled in. I can show a before picture, but we did a lot of work clearing it out, tried to seal it up some. Still isn't quite there. I'll probably do a separate video just on the fountain, but right now we have just enough water in there to get the pump going. I just bought a cheap aquarium pump, and it's circulating through. Got a few plants in there, but we'll go more in depth on that later. So actually just yesterday, I started on this bed. Thank you for the toy, Percy. You gonna let me film? So I had a lot of brush from when we first moved in, where I topped all those trees along the edge of the fence line, and just a ton of vines and brambles that had grown up in between them, had to cut back. So yesterday I burned it all down to make some homemade biochar. and I ended up just making a big square, and this is going to be my first in-ground bed. I've just got a tarp over it for right now until we can get everything else ready to plant it in. Percy loves playing in it, even though I tell him not to. But that should give a decent foundation long term for a cool in-ground bed system. So we'll follow up more on that later. So this is the first raised bed at the new house. I made it in the same style that I did my 2020 emergency pandemic raised bed. It's easy and cheap. I mean, I just got some free pallets. I think I used 8 screws total to kind of hold them together. And then just filled it with some more of that brush that came from around the yard, as well as some mulch that got delivered. And then a little bit of compost that we had already worked on making. It's not great quality stuff. I did put a little hole in here so we can put some food scraps and stuff down and put some worms in there so that they can kind of get going composting more of the organic material that's in there. But we'll follow up more on this. Just got some more of those basils and peppers growing. That's about all I've planted so far this year. Bought a ton of seeds, and I gotta go get Percy. No, let's not go in there right now. All right, this is the east side of our house, so we get some good morning sun here. Once again, this was just overgrown with brambles, which are blackberries. So that was a blessing. We already have those in there, so I kind of cut it back. We're gonna keep some of the strongest blackberries in there, kind of get them to grow up. I planted an elderberry in here, and I did find one muscadine, thankfully, because I was already gonna plan to grow muscadines in here. I'm thinking kind of an arched trellis to make a tunnel through this area, but haven't quite decided on that yet. But this is definitely a work in progress over here. All right, so here we've got a tiny little raised bed that I built from some little pallets that Kara brought home from work. Just filled it up mostly with mulch and then with some potting soil. Put a few plants in there, and this is at the tip of one of the 8 tentacles of our octopus in the front yard, and that was just made because we got another pile of mulch delivered, and thankfully this time it wasn't blocking our driveway. But I just started doing paths out. I did one arm was to make sure that we marked where our water main was. Then I did one to mark where the internet cable was. And then I did one for the gas line, because we wanted to make sure that if we ever had to dig up and plant something there, we weren't going to hit one of those. Or if we ever had to dig them up to fix them for something, then we wouldn't have to be digging up trees that we had planted, but we would just be disturbing the walking path. So right now, in between the tentacles, I've just thrown some wildflower seeds. We're gonna kind of let that go wild this year. This is gonna be less managed. We'll get more to that probably next summer. Now finally, here in this little strip beside the driveway, we've got a bit of a raised bed on a hill. It's kind of interesting. I think I'm gonna fill this area with berries, and I've got 2 blueberry plants right here that I'm thinking about putting here. I do know that blueberries like acidic soil, so if I do my blueberries here, then I'll also fill in other plants around it that also love acidic soil, so that I can just have kind of one area where I focus all my acidic soil building, and then I don't have to worry about the other parts of the garden and that kind of leaking over there. So we'll follow up more on this, like everything else, of course, and we'll see how these turn out. But if I do the blueberries, I'll probably do a few other berries, and I think maybe some asparagus, but that's definitely going to take some thinking, because planting asparagus in the ground is a long-term commitment. All right, well, that's going to be for today. Thanks for joining us, taking a tour around. We can't wait to bring you more content of this. Let me know what you liked, what you want to see more of. I could definitely go way more into detail in pretty much any one of these areas in the garden. We just kind of scratched the surface, and we've got a lot more work ahead of us. So we'll bring you along and hopefully also get around to some more gardens around the neighborhood as well. But we really need a good sign off, don't we? All right, see y'all next time. You can just walk around now. I'm getting B-roll of you. Yeah, just like that. Like pretend the camera's not here. You're doing good. Oh, sorry, I said the G word. I know. Yeah, you can just like play around with sticks and stuff, chew on things like you normally would. Or you can just sit there and pose for the camera.